Components are the main building blocks of Angular applications. Applications will have multitudes of components which, when orchestrated properly, compose the application itself. A component can be thought of as a single view within an application with its own logic, template, styles, and data. Welcome to this section of Starting with Angular Components. My name is Brett Hooper, and in this section we'll discover some of the juicy details of Angular components and how to use them in composing an application. A typical component binds data and logic to its template to create custom elements within an encapsulating view. An Angular application can be thought of as a big old component tree. The root of the tree is a component usually called app component. This grand parent component encapsulates the rest of the components, which are logically arranged in a parent-child style to compose the application's behavior, look, and feel. A class that represents a component will have a component annotation, or more properly, a decorator, prior to the class definition, which turns the class into a component. Angular only recognizes the class as a component if the component decorator is present. Within the decorator are properties which choreograph the component's unique behavior. These properties include the direct resources the component requires, providers of additional services, and resources the component will consume, and additional support objects, etc. Together, these resources identified by the component's decorator properties allow the component's logic and template to do their job and make the component function as designed. In terms of code and files, a component typically consists of a class file which delineates the class definition with its component decorator and properties, and a template file, which is an HTML file including standard HTML elements laying out the relevant structure to be rendered, and additional Angular 2 directive syntax to inject the component's prescribed behaviors, styles, and data. Interestingly enough, if the template code is brief, it can be coded directly into the component's decorator template property value. As Angular is coded in TypeScript and ES6 syntax, backticks can be used to format the HTML and directive code over multiple lines. The closely related styles property is the same way. The style syntax can be coded right into the property's value array, or can instead reference a separate file containing the styling code. When a separate file is used for the template, styling, or both, the component is said to have external assets. More on this in a little bit. Of these decorator properties, most notable are the module ID value, selector value, template value, any identified directives, and noted providers. A component's metadata consists of the values noted within the decorator properties. This metadata is what shapes the component and defines its unique behavior. A component's module ID decorator value indicates the component's location when its associated files are used, such as its template and CSS file. The value always used is module.id. Angular then has a relative path reference and can easily associate these external assets. The selector metadata entry is a CSS selector used in HTML to identify the component and inject its contents. The template, or template URL metadata entry, is either inline template code or a reference to an external file containing the template code. The providers entry is an array of providers to be injected into this component and its children. Defining a component or reviewing the code of a predefined component, including its metadata, will become routine and easy to comprehend after dealing with them for just a little while. All of the information we've seen thus far will gel into an easily understandable, concise concept after we've written a few of these components. It's really quite simple, as we'll soon see.